Something's spoiled. Murder on the Orient Express. Scott here, back with Jesse.
Good to be back, fresh from the theater, as always.
Yes, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And also, I'm as fresh from the theater as I can possibly be. Here to talk about Kenneth Branagh's latest directorial contribution, Murder on the Orient Express. He himself plays the lead role, Hercule Poirot, leading an all-star ensemble for this murder mystery. It's based on the Agatha Christie novel, and it's one of many films based on the source material. And I want to say that after having left the theater, I kind of felt like I was more or less watching a work of art.
Okay.
It was definitely more of a cinema experience. I didn't really so much enjoy the murder mystery aspect of the story. I want to talk about the things that I liked about the movie. For one thing, Kenneth Branagh, who has been directing for a long time, and he's been directing himself on screen. He's very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when an actor is directing themselves along with a lot of other actors, you see some details seem to be missed. I'm remembering when Mel Gibson directed Braveheart. He directed that masterfully, but it seems like his own performance wasn't as nuanced as maybe another director would have brought out of him. And that's never a problem with Branagh. He's used to directing himself and many other people on screen. Johnny Depp, who plays Mr. Ratchet, who ends up being Mr. Body in this case, probably a more subdued performance from Depp than we're used to, and thankfully it was more subdued.
You mean he wasn't Dillinger? I was pretty sure he was Dillinger. He's a little bit overexposed, I think. He really is.
I do think so.
I made the Dillinger remark because he looked like Dillinger when he played Dillinger. But he's a good enough actor that he didn't play him like Dillinger, so that may have been a little unfair. But I agree. We've seen a lot of Johnny Depp, and it's hard to forget it's Johnny Depp when you watch him.
Yeah. But once again, Branagh assembled some heavy star power, for the role. Daisy Ridley is probably, I guess, one of the freshest faces. I think she's pretty much only known for Star Wars at this point, but she did a very nice job. I'm not as familiar with Leslie Odom Jr. either, but once again, he did a pretty good job. I think the surprise for me this time was Josh Gad. Every time I see Josh Gad in a role, I think Jack Black Light.
Yeah, right.
This time he actually he shows that he has some decent acting chops. Judi Dench was an example of getting some massive star power for just a really small role. The old actor mantra kept popping up in my head watching this movie. There's no such thing as small roles, only small actors.
Right.
Not true. There were small roles
in
this movie. But Michelle Pfeiffer, I think she had the most opportunity to make the most of her small role.
Okay.
But maybe Branagh was being a little self-indulgent. He crafted this beautiful movie around him. He got a great cast of supporting actors, while he himself took the ball and ran with it as Hercule Poirot. I think he did an outstanding job acting, as well as directing a beautiful movie.
One of the criticisms, and I agree with this because this is what I remember, and reading as a kid, that Hercule Poirot was this chubby, not athletic. There's you wouldn't buy him in the physical combat. There wasn't a lot of it in this movie. True. But he was kind of the handsome, good-looking Poirot, which kind of changed the nature of the character a little bit, I think.
With the exception of the ridiculous mustache.
The ridiculous mustache, yeah, which was fun.
It was a good-looking movie. I thought that the pacing for the most part worked.
And this movie was a throwback. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous movie. And it was so visually pleasing, but it reminds me of the old Masterpiece Theater where you put it on a Saturday afternoon, and it was interesting, it was smart, but it wasn't fast. It didn't give the audience a lot of big explosions or chase scenes. It wasn't about that.
Right.
I love the avalanche. That was a great scene, but you have to sort of remember what the book was, and it was a murder mystery. And again, this is a spoiled review, but. It was the implausibility of everyone on the train being responsible for murdering Cassetti.
Well, and as he comes to that realization that all 13 members are implicit in the murder, you're like, well, that's a huge coincidence. But they pay that off by establishing that they were all recruited.
Right.
Michelle Pfeiffer recruited all of them.
Yeah.
To do this, so they all equally had a hand in it. And they also were very clear in establishing that Ratchet deserved to die.
Right.
He killed a kid, so
he deserved to die. I mean, I buy that. So I actually really did enjoy it, but you have to kind of calibrate your thinking on this, because it was a movie that was written, a story that was written in, I think, 1934.
It's an old book. Agatha Christie's name is not one that you hear a lot anymore, unless you are watching TV. You're watching, maybe PBS,
right,
or something. And these types of movies really don't get made that often anymore. That's one of the reasons I think he could get away with telling the story, because it's not fresh in people's minds. But for me, it was kind of a workshop in that kind of filmmaking, which is probably the reason that I enjoyed it. Once again, the delicious acting, the unfolding of the story, that eccentricity of the lead detective.
And that's how you have to enjoy this movie, and you have to think of it in that terms.
But I'm thankful to Branagh for actually bringing the story to the screen in 2017. Reflecting on this movie, I did definitely enjoy it for being a well-made movie, and as the story unfolded. Once again, there wasn't a single bad shot in the movie at all. Every frame was a painting.
Yeah. I think he was respectful to the source material.
I think so too. Because
I think the biggest mistake a filmmaker can make is like, hey, I can do better than the source material, and that's usually where it fails miserably.
No, like I said, and weirdly, it didn't feel like a Kenneth Branagh ego trip. Like I said, I do have to comment on kind of the disproportionate focus on Perot to the other characters, given who he cast.
Right.
But once again, that might have been the idea behind that, is that everyone's a suspect.
Right. Right. If that hadn't happened, if you had, of course we know they all were murderers, but that would have, if you had one celebrity and a lot of no names, you'd have obviously assumed the celebrity was going to be the killer. So,
right. If you cast Ed Harris, it's him.
Right.
As soon as Ed Harris shows up, he's guilty.
He's the one.
It held my attention. I certainly had no regrets about having seen the movie.
Right.
I'm going to give this one a solid 4.
No, I would agree with the 4, and again, it's you have to have it in context, and I think this movie it honored the source material, and it made me feel like I watched the movie Agatha Christie intended you to see.
Right. Well, that's what we think. Definitely curious to know what you guys are thinking. Have you seen Murder on the Orient Express? Did you enjoy it, or did you think it was a yawn, it was a bore? It was a homage to movie making that shouldn't happen anymore. Whatever you're thinking, leave your thoughts below if you would. And if you want to see more content here, please click that subscribe button and click that bell so that you can get notified and you too can get spoiled. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you.